Let me start by introducing today's host. So, Praveen is the COO and CPO at IBC Media and a veteran in the industry, having spent over 25 years in Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 spaces. He has worked across the geographies in North America, Europe, Middle East, and India in key leadership positions in technology and fintech space. He has expertise
Recording in progress.
He has expertise in product and technology. He is an AWS certified solution architect at professional and associate levels, certified blockchain expert, CFA level 1, and an alumnus of INSID. Praveen has designed and implemented solutions in the blockchain space in DeFi, NFT, and Metaverse. I would like to welcome Praveen and take this conversation forward. Over to you.
Thank you, Dhruv. Do we have Gautam also already joined?
Yes, I believe. Sure.
Okay, we'll wait for Gautam to join. Gautam is our guest of honor. So we'll give a few minutes for Gautam to join and then we will start the conversation. Thank you, Dhruv.
Thank you.
So while we wait for Gautam, I just wanted to interact with all of you who are present in this meeting today. Web3 has been a buzzword for quite so many years. Here we have Gautam. Hello, Gautam.
Hello.
Hey everyone. Sorry for being late. I was just figuring out the Zoom audio stuff.
Oh, you are perfectly on time.
Thank you.
Great, Gautam. So we will start the conversation. So I think very briefly, Dhruv talked about myself. I have over 2 decades of experience in IT space. Predominantly in Web 2 and then over the last 5 years or so in Web 3. And I also have specialization in IoT and cloud. I am a AWS Cloud Solutions Architect at professional level, and have been doing several things in fintech. So a little bit just to set the ball rolling for you.
Awesome,
and guys,
awesome.
Thank you. And guys, I think let me take this honor to welcome Mr. Gautam. Gautam represents Parity, which is a foundational company. Gautam has several years of experience in designing and implementing solutions in decentralized space. He has, prior to Parity, he was working at Microsoft and working in the IoT and cloud. Gautam himself is a cloud expert. He also has the background in implementing decentralized solutions, as I said earlier. And Gautam has also co-authored a book on fundamentals of blockchain. So I think here we have a person who has depth in blockchain, depth in Web3. So I think it could not really have been better than having Gautam in this conversation. Thank you, Gautam, for joining us.
Thank you, Praveen, for having me here.
Yeah. So I'll just take a few minutes before we get into the meat of the conversation. I'll just talk a little bit about IBC Media. And I don't think in front of Gautam, I would talk a lot on Polkadot. I'll let Gautam talk on Polkadot. But then for IBC, IBC Media is a flagship company which is a part of a conglomerate of business houses. And we are deep into blockchain. For several years, we have been doing several things in maturing this technology. From our side, contributions are there, many. We had our 2018 conference, which was a huge success. And in fact, many good startups really came from that cohort. Right now, we understand this world. We understand the challenges the newer blockchains are facing. We also understand the challenges in getting these skills, for this technology. So we have a very, very, I would say, aggressive plans for next 5 years. We have set our roadmap, which comprises of several key activities and which are complementary in nature, such as We have a series of hackathons. We have a series of skill development programs. We are trying to bring the universities and the industry together. We are starting with India. We have got several state governments of India as our sponsors. And as I said earlier, Polkadot is our headline sponsor. And we're trying to do things in a very, very simplified manners. And I'm pretty sure with the effort that we are right now trying to put on table, this will be a huge step forward for blockchain industry as such, and especially for the adoption of the blockchain ecosystem. Coming to that, I'll just take a few minutes on Polkadot in a very, very short manner. So all of you understand the blockchain industry, and there are different layers of solutions, such as Ethereum and others. So they are layer 1 solutions. Now we will get into all these two finer details, and I'll let Gautam take some of these questions later. But then Polkadot is a platform which is layer 0 solution. Now, building something at layer 0 is really very, very fundamental to the growth of this industry. And one of the problems that we are facing today in blockchain is interoperability. Now, Polkadot and some other protocols, and primarily Polkadot, really is trying to solve that problem, which is in my opinion, which is one of the severest problem that this industry is facing today. So, with all this context, let me take a few more minutes to set the context of discussion, Gautam, if you are okay. I'll just say that maybe up to 2004, I would say, we started with Web 1.0. Now, Web 1.0 was something where you can just go and read. And I don't know how many people in this meeting today really had a chance to look at the Googles and Yahoos of those days. This was just for you to go and read the content, nothing else. Now things changed, and then we had improvised Google, we had Facebook, we had all these commercial websites like Amazon and all of them. All of these guys basically gave us an opportunity and ability to start contributing to the content, and that really became Web 2.0. That's what we call. Now Web 2.0 really made our life easier. You really don't need to go to a mall to buy things. You can go and order that in the commercial websites in a minute, or in seconds, in less than a minute. Now that's the kind of the comfort that this Web 2.0 has given to us. But the question arises here: is everything rosy here? Are we really? Of course, we are getting advantaged by these features, but then is it all right? No, I think then there are several questions that really come here. And one of the most, I would say, important questions which we all need to consider, and which we think is the ownership. The ownership of your content. Who owns your content? Is that you? Are you being able to monetize that? Do you get what you really deserve for your data? And there are issues in that. That is where this blockchain comes and Web3 comes. And if I say that Web3 is a solution to all of these problems, then I think it will not be an overstatement, in my opinion. Now, with all these context, I think if you guys appreciate what we are trying to discuss here, we will get to the core of the discussion. And let me start with, my first question to Gautam. Gautam, could you please share your experience in building Web 3.0 based solutions, professionally?
Sure. Thank you, Praveen, for the question. So I got into blockchain and Web3 space around 2017. Before that, I was working in the supply chain team at Microsoft, and I was just basically initially tinkering around with things, understanding what this space is, and then I started working on some decentralized identity related stuff after I came to Berlin. And those were my first, you can say, some initial solutions around in the blockchain space about how do we make sure that people have a little more control on identity on the internet, and what they can do when they want to prove themselves that they actually are what they are supposed to be or what they are representing in terms of the online identity. So that was my initial, you can say, experience with Web3 stuff. Then I moved into building a little more of, you can say, enterprise solutions on blockchain with respect to supply chain and a few other things. And finally, I joined Parity in 2018, and then since then I've been mostly working on Substrate and Polkadot related stuff.
Fantastic. I think that definitely gives us an impression about your depth in technology. I think what you really have done earlier, these are the foundations, and based on that, I think you are kind of contributing to Web3 space. I think Web 3.0, in my opinion, definitely needs people who are more, I would say, tech oriented. I think that's how, because it is in the early days, in my opinion. What do you think, Gautam? What do you see? I mean, how do you see Web 3.0 influencing the future? I think, what is the timeline that you have in mind? I mean, if you can share some thoughts.
I think we have already started more or less. I look at it as an iterative process. You have to first understand, what is the problems faced? What are we trying to solve here? Then you have to start with the fundamental technologies that can enable solutions on top of them, and then you have to build solutions, and then people start using them. So essentially, I think that this is an iterative process. We have identified the basic, problems that you also briefed in the beginning, the problems with respect to having trust on centralized parties, the problem with respect to not having enough control on the data and stuff. And now we have been building more or less for the last 5-6 years. We've been building fundamental technology stack, including Polkadot, that basically supports creating many different kind of blockchains and connect them together. And finally, on top of that, now we are in the process of building these technology solutions to help solve those problems from a user's perspective. And we are already looking at a lot of adoption. So I think this will also be, I cannot generalize it for entire different kind of use cases, because every use case requires a different kind of complexity and problem solving. So on some of the use cases, we are further ahead with solving the problems and helping people get more control on things. And on some other use cases, we are still looking at solving some of the fundamental problems with respect to, let's say, privacy and stuff around that. So yeah, I would really say that the process has started, and we are pretty much in the usage scenarios now.
Great. I think a very interesting point you raised, and I agree with you. So now, when we look at the Web3, stack of solutions, I think that really has been evolving, and lot many newer things are happening in this space, especially in the blockchain side of the world, then the front end side of the world, and then of course things which are kind of the portion of the stack that really makes it available to the end user. So could you throw some light on your perspective on the stack of this Web3, Gautam?
If I understood that correctly, the stack of the Web3 is essentially it's similar to any other stack. I would say I don't like to call Web3 a small island away from the mainland. It is pretty much part of the mainland as well. It's just another approach of solving problems. And then the stack, of course, there is a user, on the user side, you have to understand what the user needs, and then how they are able to, interact with the application. So of course, there are some fundamental changes needed with respect to how users get a little more control. For that, they have to have a little more responsibility of their keys and stuff. And then on the blockchain side, we want to make sure that how these user interfacing applications interact with the backend side of things, with the blockchain side of things. How do we make sure that there is enough decentralization with respect to, let's say, light clients and decentralized storage for easy access of data, not making it too complicated. So there are some new components in the stack, but they are also one of the things that a lot of community people are working on is making sure how those components are still, you can say, providing ease of access in terms of currently existing systems, so that users don't have to worry about too much and they can still get benefit from Web3 stuff.
Well, excellent. I think I agree with you. The stack is similar. But I think what is also important to note from your remarks is basically the developer community that we have today. I think they should not really be worried about, learning a completely new thing. Especially now, when we talk about the things or the development that really have been happening over the last few months and maybe more than a year, that most of the blockchains are working towards bringing the conventional the programming languages into the mainstream, such as you really don't need to learn Solidity, for example. Of course, Solidity is good, but then can you really do with Python? Can you really do with something which really you already know and convert everything into the WebAssembly, WASM, and like you guys are doing? Then Cosmos is trying to do that. So I think all those things will really take this technology to a much wider community. And for sure, there are things which you need to learn, but then I think you really could leverage what you already know. That's going to be a massive step forward, in my opinion, in terms of adoption of this technology. So thanks for that. I'll move on to my next point, which is a very, very important point in my opinion. And I think I am sure you would agree with me that when the blockchain came and when people started looking at this technology as something which allows them to own their data themselves, be in control, remove the intermediaries, you remove the need of the trust, and be in control of yourself. But now, when you look at this, the direction that this technology has taken in last 10 years or so, the trust factor has again come in. And why I'm saying that, I'll just go to that. Say, for example, today, you are still using some of the cloud solutions, for example, for hosting a few things, for example, some of the front-end part or the website piece of that, or say, for example, you are still using, and I've seen some projects using the centralized databases, for example, storing the files or the images in S3 in AWS, for example. Now, these things are definitely not allowing you to think of a system which is completely trust isolated. So my question to you, Gautam, would be that how do you see this censorship resistance today? If you are becoming a threat to someone, and if you are hosting your stuff in a public cloud, that may be anything, they can shut you down in moments. Now, the question is that what I want to know, and you coming from this thought leadership of this industry, what do you think? What should be the direction this industry should take in terms of completely making it or keeping it, trust free?
Sure. I think the industry or the Web3 space, as we better call it, it's already taking those steps. Pretty much, you can say. I would like to put it in this way, that when you are looking at data, there is definitely a classification of data, what is required for making consensus, or what is required for achieving agreement between different parties without any middlemen, and what is not required for that process. What is metadata? What is simply just supporting stuff that requires that is needed for specifically having better user experience, but it's not really needed for consensus. So that kind of data, of course, has to stay on the chain, which is absolutely needed for finding agreement, but everything else can be off the chain. We also want to look at how we can optimize the systems. Not everything belongs on the chain. So that is one thing, essentially. The second part is, of course, on the file and storage side of things, we have had several solutions already, which allow us to have decentralized storage. And then that allows us to basically not trust any one single centralized party. You can still host files and many others. Like I've seen decentralized applications running their entire front end on IPFS and hosting their entire, even Polkadot.js apps. One of the front end instances is hosted by IPFS, essentially. So we do see that these practices are already in use. And thirdly, most importantly, for censorship resistance, I think somewhere or the other, the problem that comes in is when you are using centralized parties for sending your blockchain transactions, and and they can censor them, they can not propagate them, and so on. So that is where light clients come into the picture. So like, for example, if you look at Polkadot, we have a light client that runs inside your browser. It's called Substrate Connect, and it can just simply connect to your decentralized application, just like a extension, and like relay your transactions in a completely decentralized, trustless, and permissionless manner. You don't have to worry about any censorship resistance with that. So there are solutions already out there. People are using them. It's just about a mindset thing that we have to think about these solutions, that they are as good as using any other solution, and we have to embrace them. And of course, there are some things with when it comes to developer experience and user experience, and that is where a lot of work is being put in right now to make it as seamless as possible.
Yeah, no, very true. I agree with you, Gautam. I think your assessment is, very, very, futuristic. And I think the beauty of this field is that, and that's happy to note, is that so many bright minds are coming into this, and the solutions that you are talking about. Ultimately, these solutions will become mainstream solutions at some point in time, and then maybe the true promise that this industry gives to us, or shows to us at least. I think those things will come into reality. So my next question is basically about the future state of this blockchain ecosystem, Gautam. So I think I'll say what exactly I want to ask here. Basically, so if you really look at, started with Bitcoin in 2008 or 9, then maybe after a few years we had Ethereum, which gave us a platform to start doing programming. So programmability came into existence, and that ecosystem started developing, and we really saw huge traction in terms of newer and newer dApps coming into them, and those are into all the fields that you can imagine. And I think those were into gaming, into the music, into the arts, into the NFT. I mean, of course, NFT has all these flavors. Then financial applications, DeFi, insurance, you name it, and they are there. Now, with all these things, Ethereum built an ecosystem which kind of, I think, which is a world of, I would say, world of the whole business gamut of representation. And then, of course, with that came limitations. Of course, we all know that. And then again, the sharp minds started working, and then we started having other platforms like Solana came, then Avalanche came, then of course Polkadot came, Cosmos came. There are tons of different systems that started coming. Now, with that, what happens? And again, we talked about it. So, with that comes the user base starts getting distributed across these chains, and then you really are not talking about a system which is a holistic system, interconnected system. So, I'm talking about a term, a buzzword, what you call interoperability, which is the biggest, I think, which is the biggest question to be answered if you really are looking at this system becoming a mainstream system, just like the way Web 2.0 consolidated. Now, my question to you is that what's your opinion, or what's your thought process on this much talked about term interoperability? What do you see? How do you see this world, getting together? And also, what's the timeline that you see? And do you think it's going to be a multipolar world, or you are looking at a dominant system taking the central stage, and the others are kind of the peripheral systems? What do you think about that, Gautam?
So actually, I prefer to build, so I don't think too much about this stuff. But what I would suggest is that we are talking about optimization here. So we want to make sure that when the apps are onboarded on blockchain, when the apps are onboarded on decentralized systems, they are optimized enough so that the users can use them without too much of a problem. So, for example, if I take an example that there is an application on Ethereum that basically is a universal basic income application, or was an universal basic income application, but just to receive that income, you had to spend more money in gas fee than that income itself. So then it's completely useless. Now, what was the reason for that is, you have all other applications trying to completely, let's say, take the network's bandwidth and increasing the gas fee by multiple folds, and then normal users, the regular users, are not able to use it. Now, how do you solve that kind of a problem is by distributing the applications across different kind of chains and optimizing them. Like you need heterogeneous sharding for that kind of stuff. So that your universal basic income can live on its own chain, or maybe on a chain that allows that kind of optimization and gas fee. And then the gaming applications can live on gaming chains and so on. And then you don't get this cross, impact or interference from other applications, increasing the gas fee for this kind of stuff. So, and this is what we are trying to do with Polkadot. It's a layer zero heterogeneously sharded platform, which allows you to build different kind of blockchains for different kind of applications, and then connect them all together so that they can interact with each other in a trustless manner. And to just tie it back to your question is like, you have to solve for optimization, you have to solve for user experience, and you have to solve for security and scalability. And then once those solutions are in there, the basic platform or infrastructure is in there, then applications will be built, or applications will be migrated on top of these new platform and new infrastructure, and then people will use those applications. So I would see that, the platform that allows for more applications to be optimized on top of it, more applications to be, scaled on top of it will be definitely attracting more users. But we will see, the second thing is evolution. Like we want to look at how blockchains evolve. If you look at from an historical perspective, blockchains are slow to evolve. Bitcoin has not changed much in the last 12 years. Ethereum also is very slow with evolution, with bringing in new features and stuff. So you need blockchains that can continue to become better and provide these optimizations to the users. And that is where we have something called as forkless upgrades in Polkadot, which just upgrades the entire blockchain with a transaction, which when is approved by the community. So there are these kind of things on the fundamental layer that we want to solve so that things become more optimized for users. And that is what we are trying to do here, without having too much of, you can say, opinion about the future.
I think Gautam, that is the best thing to do, because I think somebody is to develop. There are people who should think about the strategy, but then I think the core work in blockchain has to be done by someone. I mean, I think that's you guys are doing that. I think it's excellent. So one thing that really comes to my mind, Gautam, is about the scalability problem. I think that is something which really has been a major, I would say, a major cause of concern. Basically, when you start comparing these Web3 applications with the Web2 applications and the transaction throughput and the volume that we talk about. And especially when you look at, and I was kind of thinking about it earlier, that we talk about tokenization. Now, when we talk about tokenization of the real world assets, be it driver's license, be it real estate properties, be it the commercial transactions, be it whatever you can think of. Imagine when all these real world assets come into, in the form of NFTs, non-fungible tokens for the audience benefit, and they start functioning in the different metaverses, and several use cases emerge. Then if you are not if you are not a blockchain which really supports the level of throughput that it's required to be able to handle all these real world business use cases, how do we do that? So I know that there are some blockchains which really have promised thousands of TPS, transaction per seconds. But then I think, how do you see this happening in future? Because I think, of course, we talk about trilemma, we talk about decentralization, we talk about scalability and security. You can achieve at most 2 out of the 3. But then if you are compromising on any of these, say, for example, you are compromising on a decentralization, then you are talking about security risk being there, or you are not sure about how safe is the system. Or if you are looking at scalability, if you look at the other 2, then the third one gets left out. So the question I'm asking to you, Gautam, as a thought leader, how do you see the scalability being achieved, without compromising the key ingredients or the key features? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'll probably tie it back to my previous answer and then explain it a little on the scalability front. So when you look at the problem of scalability, it's about like having all kinds of transactions being sent to the exact same kind of platform. Like look at any smart contract platform out there, and what they provide you is a general programming interface to put any kind of smart contract on top of it, and then your users or your application developers can start calling that smart contract, and that's pretty much it. Now the problem with that is there are no specific optimizations that can be done on these smart contracts. For example, let's say an application in the payment scenario might require instant finality or might require faster block times, but you cannot do that on a generic smart contract platform. An application in the supply chain scenario might require eventual finality, but like batched transactions and stuff around that, but you cannot do that on generic platforms. So what do you need is you need blockchains that can be optimized for use cases and distribute them out. So if you have a dedicated blockchain just for payments kind of scenario, you can optimize the block time, you can optimize the finality, you can optimize the consensus, you can optimize the business logic sitting on top of it, and then it brings scalability, then it brings faster throughputs. On the other hand, if you want to do it for a different kind of use case, you can optimize accordingly. And that is what heterogeneous sharding is all about. That is what Polkadot provides. Is essentially you can build a blockchain specifically for a particular use case and optimize it accordingly, and then it brings throughput. Now there will be a question that if we are building so many blockchains for different kind of use cases, then these are becoming data silos. Then these are having their own. What if a supply chain blockchain wants to process a payment? Because of course, when you are bringing in somebody's goods or resources, you want to get paid for it. So how do you do that? Do you put the payment stuff on the supply chain blockchain? Then you are going back to the same problem that you are putting too many use cases on the same blockchain. So you want to connect these blockchains so that when the supply chain scenario or the supply chain transaction is done, then it automatically triggers a payment transaction on another blockchain. And that is where the layer zero Polkadot comes into the picture, the relay chain comes into the picture, allows you to have this communication between blockchains. So while you can optimize it for scalability, you can also connect them together for communication and interoperability. And that, for me, is a solution to the scalability problem. That, for me, is a solution to the throughput problem without compromising on decentralization and security.
Yeah, no, I think very interesting points you raised. I agree with that, and I think the effort which really is happening right now. At the end of the day, these solutions need to come. I think if we want this to be a mainstream system, then somewhere, and I think there is a solution to every problem, in my opinion. I think I do. They're doing. Yeah, but the point is that how much time will this take? All those things, and what's the kind of user adoption you are seeing, and I think what's the kind of transaction volume needs you are kind of looking at, and then kind of being able to fulfill those on a continuous basis. That's something that really needs to be thought about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. The solution is already out there. So as of last year, the parachains are fully live on Polkadot, and then there are currently more than 30 parachains running on Polkadot, and then supporting different kind of use cases. And we have more parachains coming later this year. So the solution is already out there, and people are using it.
Absolutely. Now, I think wonderful note that, and I think I just for the benefit of the user community, user audience here, what Gautam is explaining to all of us here is that the solution. So Polkadot has got a hub and spoke model, where the central piece is called the relay chain, which really where all the the shared security lies, and the para chains. And Gautam, please obstruct me if I am going off from your thought process here. But then the para chains are basically the different blockchains, what you call, and I think this is a very, very this is a very important step in the direction of interoperability as well. And of course, it is solving several other problems which really are very, very crucial for. So at the end of the day, you have to understand one thing, that this technology is evolving, and it has really been evolving for last several years. And in my opinion, this is just the beginning of the explosion that kind of we are seeing. And I was talking to one of my colleagues just before this session, and I think Polkadot is a platform which really gives you ready-made, straight-away solution for the interoperability. Now, one of the things that now I want to move on to, Gautam, here is basically about the technology complexity and the user unfriendliness. I think that is something which really I am a little worried about when I talk about this technology, because I come from tech space, you come from tech space. It's still easier for me to kind of handle things. But imagine if you are talking about this technology going to the mass, for example, and this can go to them in several ways. We know about the cryptocurrencies, we know about the stable coins, we know about the CBDCs. Now, if CBDCs are launched at the large scale, at the national level or the international level, this technology is going in the hands of the person who does not understand technology. And if you expect them to go and set up their MetaMask wallet and then do transactions and making sure that they preserve their private keys and all that, it's insane. It's not going to happen. How do you think this the stage at which the blockchain industry or these applications are today, how are they going into the hands of these guys in a state which is comprehensible for these people? What do you think about that?
Sure. I think I'll come back to the iterative process model. Basically, what we believe is that like the initial problem to solve was for security. Then the problem that we focused on was scalability, of course, decentralization, keeping in mind. And now that we are close to fully realizing the solutions to both of those, we are now looking at solving the next most important thing is user experience. Because if something is not secure, what's the point of having user friendliness on that thing? So first of all, the blockchain ecosystem as a whole provide secure solutions, which everybody is working on, which we have also worked on Polkadot with shared security and a bunch of other things. The next step is, once things are secure, once they are able to handle different kind of attacks and everything, the next thing to solve is scalability. Like, how do we make sure that they are able to stay secure while helping more and more users at the same time? Which again, the work had been going on for quite some time, and then now we have Polkadot, which can solve that as well. What's next? Now that we are through with these fundamental basic requirements, then comes user friendliness and developer friendliness. How do you make sure that users are able to use it without too much of a trouble? And how do you make sure developers are able to use it without too much, or developers are able to build on top of it without too much of complexity? And that is where the work is going on currently. The focus is a lot on this side of things. And then I'm already seeing a lot of really good solutions out there. The Web3 Foundation is giving a lot of grants for user experience related projects at the moment, and then there is a lot of work going on. So I'm really, really hopeful that we will also be solving this problem very soon. There are already some wallets that I've seen that are really, really user friendly. There are some wallets that are coming together with a mix of, you can say, an open ID kind of approach, where people can use their decentralized identifiers combined with their, traditional identifiers, so to make things a little more easy but still secure and decentralized. So there is definitely a lot of work and experimentation going on in this direction. And yeah, it's also like something, I don't think that just technology will solve this problem. There will be a lot of education needed as well. So we are also focusing a lot on that direction. Like recently, Polkadot and Revolut started a blockchain related, you can say, learning kind of offering, where you can learn a lot of concepts and stuff around that. So, and education is also extremely important in this. When you are doing something new, you have to understand why are we doing it in the first place, and then automatically user experience comes behind it, because then you understand what are you trying to achieve and what are you supposed to do, what are you supposed to not do. So that education is also an extremely important part of user experience, I believe.
Oh, very well said, Gautam. I think I agree with you. And I think one of the prime focus areas for IBC Media is the same thing, because we also believe that technology can go to the masses only if it is understood well. And I think right now we also see that gap. And one of the ways we are trying to fix this problem is the event that we're talking about. We are partnering with protocols and chains like you, and take this technology and put our level best to take this technology to the community. And also with respect to, I also always feel that the web 2.0 financial ecosystem really has had hundreds years of history, if you really see these stock exchanges and all these guys. But then the DeFi is pretty new right now, and there has to be a user community who understands the different applications, DeFi applications, the yield generation, the lending, the borrowing, all the fundamentals. Ultimately, we need to have a DeFi, and that is where we have come up with a DeFi competition, where we are challenging people to go and generate the best yield possible using all the tools which are being developed there. So I think these are the efforts which the industry has to take, which the academia has to take. We have to take there. So I think with that, I'll go to my next question. Basically, we are talking about transaction cost, and you have touched upon this point in your earlier responses. So I would like to maybe take your final thoughts on the transaction costing. So for the audience here, the transaction cost is something which you have to pay as gas fee, we call in the blockchain world, to make your own transaction. So, or in the most simple language, to put your transaction in a block, you need to spend some money. Now, the blocks being limited, the people who are trying to put their transactions in those blocks are many. So the price goes up. It's very simple demand and supply situation. And now the question is that how soon can the blocks be produced? Now, if the blocks are produced fast enough, then you have got many opportunities to put your transactions, then the cost reduces. And there are more complexities to that, but I'll not go into that right now. But then my question to you is that, of course, Ethereum, all we have seen the way, the cost has shot up. To buy $5 worth of NFT, you may have to pay $100 transaction fee. I mean, that's not sustainable. That's not feasible. Now they also are coming up with their own solutions, and then there are other chains right now who have literally solved this problem. They are talking about the transaction gas fees in the proportion of cents right now. They are not even cents. I mean, much lower than that. So, what do you think? I mean, are you seeing more changes in this, or do you think this is settling somewhere, Gautam?
I think it is an open market, essentially. First of all, it is definitely an open market, so it will keep evolving with respect to the usage side of things. But having said that, I would say that the gas fee of one particular, let's say, application, or the gas fee being impacted by one particular application, should not impact the users of another application. Like, for example, I said, if people are playing CryptoKitties on Ethereum, and they are that particular whole, you can say, ecosystem of that application or of that game is driving the gas fee up, then this particular user who is just trying to use his universal basic income application should not be impacted. I mean, you can have an open market on a particular application side of things. When people are using it, of course, there is a demand and supply scenario, but it should not impact other users who are just trying to use it for other reasons. If I'm trying to send you some money, I should not be impacted because of some other 100,000 users who are playing the game on the same blockchain. So that is where the sharding of things comes into the picture, that you are segregating these different kind of use cases, so that on one side you have the more critical use cases with their gas fee and then open market, and on other sides you have things like high scale and high throughput use cases like gaming and CryptoKitties stuff, which with their own open market and own gas fee. So then people will not be impacted because of that. So that I think that is again a combination of two things. One is, of course, we have to shard things or scale things out, and then the second thing is, of course, leaving it to the open market and then letting the users decide on that. But it is an important aspect of permissionless systems. Of course, we cannot ignore it completely. If you create a permissionless system for anybody to use, there has to be some incentive for people to run the nodes and provide the service, and there has to be some cost for users to use it. Otherwise, it is not sustainable. So definitely, you can say gas fee and transaction fee and whatever you want to call it is here to stay for permissionless systems. But of course, we can optimize those things with proper solutions.
Excellent points. Excellent point, Gautam. So, Gautam, I think we definitely have touched on very key aspects today so far. But one final thought, I think one final thing that really worries many people. I think I definitely would want to take your thoughts on that. The security. Now, I think you have touched upon this point in your responses earlier as well. But I wanted to talk about it little separately, is because this is a matter of prime concern to any user, for that matter, however small or big that person may be. Now, and we all have seen the issues that really have happened with some stablecoins in the recent past. We also have seen some of the bridges being exploited and millions of dollars kind of just taken away. And there are people who have lost their life saving. I mean, of course, that's also remains a fact. Now, this onus is upon us who are into this industry, in this tech, as to how secure we make these, this ecosystem, not compromising on other aspects. For example, not compromising on decentralization, of course, which also impacts the security. I agree, but then the adoption. How do you do that? How do you balance everything, keeping security and cost efficiency in mind, and primarily security? What do you think about that?
I think it is definitely something that is a top priority thing for everyone in the Web3 space, to make sure that systems continue to stay secure and performant. Of course, there is a trade-off between security and performance, and that same trade-off is in Web2 systems as well. It's always a trade-off between security and performance, and we just need to make sure that we are optimizing it for different kind of use cases. But definitely, I think there have been some concerning scenarios that have happened in the recent past as well, where security has been breached for some of the applications on some platforms. But I think it's an ongoing process to make sure that we are learning from these things, and then we are going towards better solutions. It is only going to get better from yesterday, I believe. We have, and this is also when you are, it's something that when I see it. It's like, when cars were invented 100 years ago, there were more accidents, and now we have rules and traffic lights and everything, and then we are able to prevent them pretty much. So when you have something new, when we are experimenting so much, when we are bringing new things to the users, there are sometimes mistakes made, but we are only learning and we are only improving from there. So I'm sure that we will figure a lot of these things out with the new solutions that are being worked on.
Very, very well said. I think, Gautam, I agree with you. I mean, we have to give time to the maturity curve. What we see in any technology, for that matter, it cannot become ultra mature, in a short span of time. But then I agree. But the only question that lies is that, can we protect the interest of the people who are participating in this? I mean, that really should be something which we all should be worried about. I think we cannot say that it will take time. But then today I am investing. I need to be assured that my money is safe, right? And that is something which we need to kind of care about. So
yes.
So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Please complete your question.
No, so that's what. So I think, what do you think? I mean, when do you think? And I mean that there's no answer black and white to that. But then I just want to take your bet on that as to when do you think this technology will become the mainstream technology? I mean, can it replace Web 2.0? Or if it can, then what timeline do you think? I mean, ultimately, when do you think this becoming the mainstream technology solution?
I think it's again, I would say it in terms of use cases. I think for some use cases it will be sooner. For some other use cases it might take some time, because again, like a different kind of industry verticals, different kind of use cases have different requirements. Some of them might require a lot more security, and then we will have to wait for some cryptographic primitives to evolve a little more before we can use those things. For some other use cases, it might not require that much, security or like throughput, and we are already ready and we are processing those transactions as we speak. So it's really a matter of focus and specific areas where the application of technology is there, and in some areas we are already looking at the technology getting much advanced. For example, look at decentralized identity related stuff where people are really utilizing that I have seen use cases of that in many places where general people, people who are really the basic users of any technology, are utilizing blockchain based identities to provide their identification to whoever needs it, and then we are mainstream in those areas, in those use cases. But if you look at some of the other high requirement use cases, we might need a little more time. So again, it's a iterative process. It's a process very dependent on where are we using this technology and how are we using it. So I think we will get there one step at a time.
My friend, I think the whole world, I think we are looking at, and I think in last few decades, this is the technology which really has been going through a lot of innovational stages. So this definitely is having a lot of promises, and in years to come, this definitely is going to solve some of the key problems. The ownership, the monetization possibilities, control, disintermediation, all those things basically will solve. So Gautam, I think these were all important and excellent answers from you. I have got a few questions from the community. If you allow me to, I can go ahead and look at them and maybe ask few of them.
Sure.
So now the interesting question is from someone where they're asking, what are the job opportunities for developers in this space?
Oh, there are so many job opportunities. I think the answer lies in all my previous answers, that there is so much of work going on right now. Every aspect of the Web3 space can use more developers. So all you need to do is believe in this stuff, understand why we are doing it, and then you are good to go. I think the why part is extremely important. And as soon as you understand that, you have a lot of things to do in there.
Very well said. I think, guys, I think the world is yours. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to learn things and kind of make yourself, I would say, skilled in this area. And there is no, there is no limit to that. It is very interesting question that come, and I think that question is also
one second, Praveen. Let me also add a little small thing. So in the Polkadot ecosystem, we have a lot of openings right now. For people who are looking at, they can check out our ecosystem careers page. It's called careers.substrate.io, where a lot of our ecosystem teams, including Parity, have a lot of postings in there. And if you're interested, you can always apply. And also Parity Technology is always hiring. So you can go to our website and check it out. All the open positions in there, parity.io/jobs.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for that information. Another question that is, I think, that is definitely, in the minds of several tech people and non-tech people as well. We always talk about solving the puzzle and getting to the next block. That is, everybody understands. How fast can you solve that puzzle and get that nonce, and in Bitcoin case especially, you get to make the block. Now, the question there arises, Gautam, that now we talk about quantum computing. Now, quantum computing is, there is no speed comparison between the traditional computers and the quantum computers. Now, if that quantum computer comes, and if that quantum computer has the ability to crack any code, which you take millions of years in few seconds, what is the impact of that on blockchain? Would you throw some light on that in your way?
I think essentially it's more about evolution of technology. So if the fundamental if if the quantum computing is available, of course, the applications will be built on top of that computing, and then blockchain nodes can be upgraded to utilize that computing to become much faster. So I see it in a slightly different way. Instead of breaking blockchain, I want to improve blockchain using quantum computing. So it will just give us much more security, scalability if we use that. So and then if a blockchain is capable to evolve, if a blockchain is capable to get incorporate new technology quickly, then there is no issue I see with that.
Great, and I agree with you. I mean, for the sake of risk and the worries, you cannot stop the technology evolution, and that's how this planet Earth has really been going on from a steam engine to go back, and then things have been happening like that only. So I don't think there should be any worry. People should be worried about this. Like Gautam mentioned, I mean, let the technology evolve and let the things settle down of themselves. So one interesting question, I don't know, it's a little thought-based question. So out of all the technology solutions and technologies that you see, Gautam, right now, there are several of them in last, say, I would say 10 years, decade, where, when the data starts becoming available in bulk, then your data science came, the machine learning, you started inferring the data and started getting newer and newer insights, which were not possible earlier. Then of course, IoT is changing the whole spectrum of life itself, and all the business perspectives are changing. Then you have the blockchain. So in your opinion, what do you think is the most, I would say, innovative emerging technology? What do you think, Amin?
I think, of course, there are so many things happening in parallel. So I wouldn't choose one, but of course, in different areas, there is a lot of innovation happening. Of course, you already mentioned quantum computing. I'm also a big fan of AR and VR stuff, essentially on how you can, interact with users in a completely different, tangential space. And finally, of course, the crypto space is always, bringing new stuff almost at light speed. So there are several things happening in parallel, which are bringing very fast innovation in many areas of technology.
Wonderful. I think we are moving towards the closer. So I think one last question from my side, Gautam, would be that if I know your thoughts on how do you see. What do you think should be done to kind of take this technology to masses, towards mass adoption, and what all do we need to do as the community, as the blockchain, tech evangelists? What do you think?
Education, I think, is the core pillar, because we need to tell people why we are doing it. I always want to emphasize on that aspect, because a lot of people might look at blockchain and Web3 as just another technology or something new out there. But we have to essentially go deep into understanding why it is needed, why are we doing it, what has happened so far, what are the problems with that, and then how are we approaching to solve those problems. And that one pillar definitely is educating people from a technology evangelist perspective. Like when you go tell people that, hey, use blockchain, then don't just say that, hey, use blockchain. You say, this is blockchain, why it is there, and then use blockchain. And then, of course, we have already touched on the problems of user experience, which is continuously being worked on and evolving. So that is something also, we need to double down our efforts on that side and figure out a good trade-off between, security, user experience, and education. And then I think that should help us out with reaching more users.
Absolutely wonderful. I think just on that note, today in Hyderabad, we had our kickoff meeting for the skill development program, which was attended by several colleges, principals, maybe 60, 70 plus principals came. Government of Telangana was there, and the task force skill CEO of government of Telangana. In fact, he had committed to us to kind of help us reach out to all these colleges. So unless you reach out to these colleges and make these things fundamental to the education that kids are having right now in engineering and specializations, I think this technology, it will be difficult. And I think IBC Media is committed to making that journey along with companies like you, Gautam, along with close collaboration with the governments of various states, and take this technology to the colleges, to the kids, and make this a part of their learning. And I think that's where this will be this will see the direction that we all aspire it to be or striving it to be. So well, I think I definitely want to continue my conversation with you for much longer duration, but then with the time limit that we have set for ourselves, I think I wanted to thank you on behalf of IBC Media and the whole the audience they are listening to today, for sharing your valuable thoughts on blockchain, or the various problems that this industry is facing today, and all the efforts being made in that direction to resolve those problems, and what all Polkadot doing to help resolve these problems in their own way. And we take note of the Polkadot's contribution, and we also understand that Polkadot is one of the key key solutions that exists today in the market, which helps solve many of these problems, including the most critical one, interoperability and security. So I think we definitely want to commend you and congratulate you for your company on behalf of me, IBC Media, and all of our audience. Any closing thoughts from your side, Gautam?
No, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it, and thank you for having me here, Praveen. It was an insightful conversation. I hope it was helpful for the audiences. And just one thing I would like to add: if someone is looking for any sort of mentorship or advice on the blockchain space, me and some of my colleagues are always here to help on that front as well. So feel free to reach out to us. We would always love to have more people in the Web3 space contributing. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much. And Gautam, we'll definitely would like to or love to have you again, and we will be reaching out to you for future sessions and taking this journey forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.